hello. It's Miss September and friends, where imagination and friendships and adventures begin. Today, I'd like to tell you a little story. Yes, a story about an old man who lived with an old woman. An old woman who had a golden arm. Yes, from her shoulders all the way down to her fingertips. That golden arm. And she always told her husband, when I die, I want you to bury me with me golden arm. Ha! Well, they were getting up in years, and one night she passed away. The husband was a mean man and a stingy, greedy man. Yes, he decided that he would take her out in the woods. He hoofed and he hollered and he pulled, and he got her out in the woods. He dug up a grave and he put her in it. And then he went on home. Yes, and then he went on home. Later that night, around midnight, he found that he couldn't sleep. No, he couldn't sleep. He kept tossing and turning. All he could think about was that golden arm of his wife's. Yes, what money, what things he could have. And he tossed and he turned and he couldn't stand it any longer. No. So he got up out of that bed and he got him a shovel and he got him a lantern and he went back deep into the woods and he found the grave. And he dug it up. And he grabbed the golden arm. Yes. And he started running down the path to get back home. And just as he did, yeah, the wind started to blow. Ooh. And the rain started to come. You could just hear it. And it started to get louder, and then it started getting harder. Yes, you could hear it. He was getting scared. The wind was blowing. Ooh. And through the howling wind, he thought he could hear, "Who's got me golden arm? Who's got me golden arm?" The wind was going stronger. And the rain was coming down even harder, even harder. He could hear it. It was blowing. He couldn't see anything in front of him, but he kept running and running, going as fast as he could, but he could still hear the wind blowing. And through the wind, he thought he could hear, "Who's got me golden arm? Who's got me golden arm?" Ooh. The rain was coming down even harder, and it was all the tree fell in the middle of the road, and he jumped over it. As he did, he tripped, but he got back up, and it was just raining, and he could just hear the rain. It was pounding and pounding, and the lightning was just blaring, and he saw the path, and he started running, but through the wind. "Who's got me golden arm?" He just knew. He knew that that's what he was hearing. He knew he shouldn't have done what he did, but he did. And he ran as fast as he could. The rain just going down. And he opened the door and he slammed it behind him and he ran up the steps, into his room. And he jumped under the covers and he was shivering from head to toe. Yes, shivering from head to toe. And he knew he had done something wrong. And he could hear the wind. And the rain just pattering at the window, and it was beating against the wall. Yes, against the windows, and the house was shaking, and the wind. "Who's got me golden arm?" And all of a sudden, the door, he heard it from downstairs. It just blew right open. and he could hear the wind come inside the house. Who's got me golden arm? He could hear her footsteps up the steps. It got louder, and the wind started howling even worse. Who's got me golden arm? It stopped. And he heard, and the door opened. He was underneath his blanket, and he was shivering. He could just feel the coldness in the air. He knew that he had done something wrong, and he knew that he shouldn't do what he did. But he did. And he heard the footsteps, and he heard the wind draw closer and closer and closer to his bed. His covers were up and over his head, and he could hear the wind. Who's got me golden arm? The hair stood on his neck, and he was scared to death, and he had his covers were just covered right over him, and he heard the wind. He heard the wind, and one last time, he heard, "You've got my golden arm!" Ha! Did you jump? Oh, I hope you enjoyed that story from Miss September to her friends, where imagination and friendships and adventures begin. I hope you had a fun adventure with me and the golden arm. Have a good one.